Hey guys, welcome to another video. And today we are going to talk about F150 versus F250. Should you upgrade to the F250? Should you downgrade to the F150? Half ton, 3/4 ton? Well, we're going to discuss that. We're going to go over exterior, interior. We're going to talk about powertrains, load capacities, towing, all that jazz. So if that's something you're interested in, stick around and check it out. First things first, guys. Just to give you an idea of what's going on is I used to have a 2017 F150 Super Cab with a 6.5 foot bed, 4x4 with a 2.7 liter EcoBoost. And then we traded it in for the F250 7.3 liter 10-speed automatic transmission Super Duty. So I have some experience with that. I've had that truck for almost 5 years. It did really well for us. Honestly, I thought that was going to be my last truck. And then we kind of made some plans and things kind of changed a little bit. So we're going to try to compare that truck and this truck. It's pretty apples to apples. The other one was a XLT package. This is an XLT package. So they're actually pretty similar. There's a lot of differences, but we'll go over those. All right, while we're on the outside here, we're going to talk about exterior. And obviously, other than just like, a bigger grille and it sits higher, there's not a ton of differences. Yes, it does have the bigger mirrors, which I really like. I kind of wish the F150 had these mirrors. Because I got the XLT package, they will extend out and retract for towing with just a push of a button. And also, the one thing I really like about this F250, and I lock the doors, these things automatically fold back. So when you're in a parking lot or anywhere, they just, I like the mirrors. That's a plus over the F150. The F150 mirrors were good, just these are better. But, they both had the exterior keypad, which is great and fantastic. But one thing that this F250 has that the other one doesn't is the running boards over here extend all the way past underneath the bed. So it's nice to be able to just step up on there when I got to reach up in there and get something that's a little closer in the middle, or even just crawl in over the side. That's pretty nice. I don't even know if that was ever even an option for but that was a 2017 and this is a 2022. So things might have changed. I don't know, but that's definitely a bonus. Another thing while we're here, the F150, the gas cap, there isn't one. On the F150, there's no gas cap. It just is automatic closing latch. So I got used to pulling up to the gas station, grabbing the gas nozzle, and just throwing it right in. And, when I first got this thing, it took me a while to get used to back to unscrewing that thing. It's just, these are just little details. They're no big difference, It's not that big a hassle or anything, but it's just something I got accustomed to and used to, just grabbing it and filling. And, I think, how hard would it have been to add this to the F250 Super Duties? I don't know if there's a reason why they didn't, but I don't know. That was a pretty nice thing on the F150s. I do like this a little bit on I wish I had these on the F150, as they got the sensors. So kind of in the blind spot over here when you're driving, there's a couple times where like a car gets right into kind of the blind spot, and it's nice because a little light lights up on your mirror telling you that there's a vehicle there, which helps out, especially because this is a bigger truck, which I really like. So the sensors are a big bonus. I think those come standard on all the F250s. You can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's pretty standard. All right, now we're gonna look on the inside for a little bit. All right, guys, here we are in the interior, and I'm pretty sure that the F150 and F250 interior dimensions are exactly the same, except for the fact that I have the crew cab now instead of the super cab. And I'll kind of explain a little more why I did that in just a minute, but we're going to talk about this interior. It's almost identical to the one I had. The only thing that's different is it's got heated seats that came with the XLT package, and it's got this little like cubby hole right above the glove box, which is just airbag space or something in the F150. But other than that, all the buttons and switches and knobs and everything are exactly the same as the F150. The body dimensions, the height, the width, everything is pretty much exactly the same in here. So there's really not much difference I can talk about. There is one little thing, but like pretty sure it was an option back then, is the 400 watt inverter that comes with it right next to the 12 volt outlet. I had the 12 volt outlet in mine, but this one has the 400 watt inverter that you can plug stuff into, like, you know, a laptop, or you need to charge some DeWalt batteries or anything like that. You just need to run a little compressor or something, you know, something that doesn't draw too much power. Everything else is pretty much the same except for these, the upfitter switches, which is pretty nice. It's basically some auxiliary switches that's already wired into your truck, and the wires go underneath the hood over by the battery, and all you have to do is just pull this like wad of wires out. You go in your owner's manual and you look at, you know, which color wire goes to which upfitter you want to hook to, and then you can just run a power wire to some auxiliary lights, a compressor, whatever else you need, and then just run a negative to either like a ground on the frame, or you can run a negative back to the battery ground. The F150 does not have those. I think it's standard on the F250. Now we're going to talk about something else it's still exterior, but I think it needs its own section: truck bed. All right, guys, we're back here at the bed of the truck. You can tell that this thing is pretty high. I'm 6'5", and it's at my chest. The F150 is a little bit lower, which is easier to get in and out of. So, you know, if you're shorter, you're just gonna have to kind of factor that in. The side step, like I mentioned earlier, is great, but this section we're going to talk about bed size. With the F150, with the Super Cab that I had, you could either get the 6.5 foot bed or the 8 foot bed, I believe. Those were the only options. And with the crew cab on the F250, you can either get the 6 foot 10 inch bed or the 8 foot bed. And I really like this 6 foot 10 inch bed. I really wish that was an option, because I really don't need 8 foot. I'm not putting too much big stuff in the back of the truck, but I really like this. With the 6.5 foot bed, you know, I run another fishing YouTube channel too, and I do fishing charters. So I have to carry rods and reels back and forth every time I go out. And I have the tonneau cover here so make sure nothing flies out, or when I'm in the bait shop, nothing walks away. Which that'll be another video about tonneau covers and beds and stuff like that. I usually get 7 foot rods, and a 6.5 foot bed is just not long enough. I have to keep them completely diagonal from corner to corner, and they're kind of crammed together, which was kind of a pain. So if you're a fisherman, you can kind of understand. So that's one of the big factors I really like about this bed over the F150. I really don't want an 8 foot bed. The truck's long enough. So I really wish they had this one in the F-150. So if bed space is a thing, like especially with like the crew cab, when they had like the 5.5 foot bed, that's pretty much useless to me. I know other people, it's fine for them, but for me and my uses of it, it's just not enough space. So this is kind of perfect. I really like this, and so I wanted to make this a little own section. So just kind of factor that in. What are you going to put in here? All right, guys, now we're going to talk about drivetrain. Our 2017 F-150 had the 2.7 liter EcoBoost engine, which just means twin turbo. It's a small engine. It had packed a lot of punch. It was like 325 horsepower and 375 foot-pounds of torque. So that's quite a wallop for, like, you know, you look at like some of the trucks 10, 15 years ago, their V8s weren't putting out that much. So it really did a good job for the size engine. So we're going to talk about the 7.3 liter Godzilla now. This 2022 F250 has the 7.3 Godzilla engine, 430 horsepower, 475 foot-pounds of torque. So basically just a little over 100 horsepower more, and like 105 horsepower more, and 100 more foot-pounds of torque than that 2.7 liter. Even though this is over double the displacement, it only puts out 100 pounds of torque more and 100 more horsepower. So you got to give it to that 2.7 liter, man. Both motors seem to push each truck very well. Like getting into traffic, getting around traffic, it goes. The 6-speed transmission that came in the F-150 was pretty smooth, I must say. It was a smooth transmission. It shifted well, it shifted when it was supposed to, but this does have the 10-speed automatic transmission. The F-250 matched up with the 7.3 10-speed automatic transmission, and it is a little clunkier. especially like sometimes it almost like skips gears. It'll go from like third to fifth, and you kind of feel it a little bit. It's not super hyper smooth, but when it's under load, it seems to be much smoother. It's like it's almost like it's, you know, begging for more load on it. And just when there's no load, it just seems to be not as smooth. So I don't know how else to say that. I will give the F150 that for the 6-speed transmission was pretty smooth. I wish it had a few more gears. The 6-speed worked great. This one works good, but you know, this thing can tow quite a bit more and hold a lot more, and we'll talk about that next. Payload and towing capacity. All right, so payload and towing capacity. Where are you gonna find your payload? Well, it's just right out in here inside the door. There's a sticker, like right where the tire pressure is, and it tells you where your payload is. This one's 3,082. And down here, the other sticker, it'll tell you your gross vehicle weight rating, which the F250s, I think most of them all are all, I think there might be some that are under, but most of them all are 10,000 gross vehicle weight rating. F150, I think it was about 7,500 pounds for their gross vehicle weight rating. But this is where this number gets kind of, you know, was a little staggering. This thing can hold over 3,000 pounds of payload. Payload means people, you know, anything you put in the bed, any tongue weight or from trailers or anything like that. So the F-150 had just a little over 1,500 pounds of payload capacity, which this F-250 is double. And that's one of the reasons why we kind of got the gas engine too, is that gave us an extra, I don't know, I think it was 400 or 500 pounds more of payload. You know, this has a gross vehicle weight rating of 10,000 pounds. If you add, you know, more weight onto it, you have to subtract that from the payload. And the diesel does weigh quite a bit more. This is not a diesel versus gas or any that mess. You know, each has its benefits and, you know, has its place. Depends on how much you're towing, what you're towing, and all that. So you got to kind of factor that stuff in. And right now I do more highway driving than I do towing at the moment. It's just on the weekends that we're towing. But the F-150, that 1,500 pounds of payload eats up fast. Okay, let's just think of it this way. You take 4 big guys, and let's say they weigh 250 pounds apiece. You put four guys in the truck, that's 1,000 pounds. You only have 500 pounds left to, like, if you put a trailer that's about 5,000 pounds, and usually it's about 10% is the tongue weight, that's 500 pounds. That's it. You can't put anything in the bed of the truck. It maxes out fast. So if you're trailering or you're hauling stuff, I would definitely consider going with the F-250. The higher payload capacity can be crucial, especially if you're towing the RVs and stuff like that. That'll be a whole nother video. We'll talk about RVs, travel trailers, fifth wheels, tongue weights, and all that capacity. So stick around, subscribe, and keep watching if you want to see more of that. 3,000 pounds versus 1,500 pounds of payload capacity. That's what you're getting in the difference between the F-150 and the F-250. And now let's talk about towing. F-150 with the 2.7 liter only could tow about 8,000 pounds in the configuration that my truck was. That was the max towing. I heard that the 3.5 liter EcoBoost could tow more than that, like 10 to 12,000 pounds, just depending on what configuration you have. Each of them are a little bit different. The towing capacity for the F-250, this one in its current configuration for conventional towing is 14,700 pounds, which is not quite double, but quite a bit more. That's over 6,000 pounds more towing capacity. Now we're going to talk about drivability. The F-150 drove so much better than the F-250. You know, it can carry a lot more weight, so that's going to affect the driving. It's got a solid front axle. It's, you know, got big, heavy leaf springs. You feel every bump in the road, and it goes through your teeth. There's other things that you can buy to kind of help smooth some of that stuff out, especially under load, but like it feels a lot better when it's under load. When I got the boat hooked onto it, it seems to drive better. The ride's more comfortable. But the F-150 was smooth. It handled the road very well. But that's another thing. It's like, you know, it's got the lighter springs, lower payload capacity, but which when I, put the tongue on the back of the truck, it sagged a bit. That was kind of a pain because, I actually had to turn the receiver hitch upside down and put the pin back on top of it just so that the boat would set even, because I had stuff in the bed of the truck and the tongue weight. It was just a little too much, and it was tilting down. So, but when I hooked the boat up to this thing, it hardly drops, maybe 1/4 of an inch at the most. But it's made to carry a lot more. Like I said, 1,500 pounds. So it's not going to drop until you start putting a lot more heavy load on that than our 5,000 pound boat and trailer. And this is not me telling you guys, oh, you need to buy the F250 or the F150. One's better than the other. Each of they're a tool. You know, sometimes you need a sledgehammer, sometimes you need a framing hammer, and sometimes you need a finishing hammer. It just depends on what job you have and what are you doing with it. So you just buy the one that works for you and what you need, and try to look in the future so you don't have to buy one again that may not fit in your needs. So you look ahead a little bit, because these things are getting expensive and they don't seem to be getting cheaper anytime soon. So that's my review on the F150 versus the F250. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments section and I'll get to them. Everybody just be polite to one another down there. No reason to be buttheads, even though truck videos always seem to stir them up. But thanks for coming along with me. I hope you enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button, notification bell. There'll be more info videos like this out. Lots of travel trucks, traveling, RV stuff. We do RV reviews and all that mess. So if that's something you're into, you know, follow us, hit that subscribe. And until we see you next time, guys, see you later.